everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and this is some of my December reading wrap up featuring the Reading Wrens game, TBRGate. So back in December when I did my TBR, I played Wren's Demon Trap game, and then I also said that I was going to pull a book for the characters they created for TBRGate, so I'm kind of paying homage to both games of theirs. I've ended up reading way more than I thought I was going to read in December, and so I've split my wrap up, like I did in November, into two. So this is only going to feature the characters that I pull for TBRGate, which halfway through the month I decided I was only going to do graphic novels and manga for these characters. So this will pretty much be my graphic novel and manga wrap up, and then there will also be a novel wrap up for the rest of my December reads. So please keep an eye out for those. This is my TBRGate, and Wren has these characters. I will also link below to the playlist of their TBRGate games. I've never watched Stargate. I don't plan on watching it, even though Wren's really desperate for me to. But, you know, I really like the fact that they've got the characters and each one has two prompts. So you got the character and then you get a choice. So yeah, if you want to find out how well the reading's gone and who I pulled and what prompts I had, keep watching. I'm exhausted. I look rubbish, but we got back from Kangaroo Island last night. It's a chill out, like I've been going through my photos, my videos, but I also picked up the first book that I've completed for any of my reading challenges this month. So Dinosaur Sanctuary Volume 1. I've just run it through Corpile and it is currently the second highest rating I have given any manga this year. 5 stars all the way. The artwork was probably one of my favourite artworks I've seen ever. The writing is solid. It's got a very clear plot where she's the daughter of a professor who was the pioneer in genetically engineering dinosaurs. We kind of learn very early on that he died, and then at the very end of this it starts to reveal how, and it's like, oh, that's just thrown a bit of a thingy into the works. All of the characters are fantastic. I especially love him. He's got that grumpy kind of, like, he's really grumpy but he's also really caring, and you can tell something's caused him to be grumpy, and I think in the next volume we find out. But it's basically set where in the 1940s dinosaurs were discovered there was like one tiny little island where they discovered some dinosaurs that survived, and as a result they've managed to bring dinosaurs back, and they now have like dinosaur parks. Think kind of Jurassic Park but a zoo version. So there was like this big boom and big popularity, but as time has worn on, people aren't so enamored by them anymore, so a lot of the places are having to shut down, and then this is one of the last ones left and they are struggling. And 15 years ago there was an incident where there was a fatal incident, and basically people lost all trust in dinosaurs, and it's had a big knock-on effect. So we've got our main character, Suma Suzume. As said, her dad was like this engineer. She has got almost naive views about dinosaurs, but they're also helping, like literally from her first day, she starts to inspire the others around her, because they're like, yes, she's naive, but she's also not wrong. And so there's like a story in here with a Triceratops who's lost one of his horns. The big popular zoo that he was a part of no longer wanted him because, you know, people don't want a broken dinosaur. And she ends up working with his keeper and coming up with a solution to reinvigorate people's interest in him again. And it's just so cute and so sweet, and people realizing that, you know, he is just a big kitten kind of thing. And it's also amazing because the mangaka has worked with an actual doctor of paleontology who has studied, like, his doctorate is in dinosaurs, and he regularly publishes material on dinosaur and paleontology. The doctor himself has got like these little pages of information, and it just gives loads of information. He backs up like with the research, or he'll be like, oh, did you wonder why the Triceratops lay like that? This is the study and the research that went into figuring out that this is actually how they might have sat. And it's so fascinating. Like I said, the writing, 10 out of 10, especially with the inclusion of the doctor's notes. The artwork, 10 out of 10, some of the best I've ever seen in my life, not just this year. The story's great, the characters are great, everything makes sense, it's all really well explained. Like I said, there is a reason it's the second highest, and it's probably going to become one of my favourite series ever. So now I've done that, Ren's going like this on the sofa. But it means that now that I've done that, as I said, because I'm not playing TBRGate proper, I'm just sort of using the character cards to include it in my reading. It does mean that I've now got to find them. I now have to pull for my next read. Someone is very eager.
I want to see what you get.
Someone else seems kind of eager. And we have Richard Woolsey.
Oh, I love Woolsey.
Non-fiction or gifted? Were any of your dino books gifted, or did you buy them all yourself?
Oh, I think the first one was gifted. I mean, there's non-fiction elements in it.
Oh yeah! Ren is on for a winner. So, non-fiction or gifted, and because of where I said the inclusion of the doctor and his notes, and it has actual research in here, Dinosaur Sanctuary 2. Dinosaur Sanctuary Volume 2 done. This one is 4.5. It wasn't quite a 5-star like the first one. It was still really, really, really good. It just didn't quite have as many like emotional moments, and it went to dinosaurs I'm not so bothered about, but it was great. We did get more of a history with Suzume's dad, where it said there was a fatal incident. We were led to think that her dad was the fatality, and yes, he was, but not the way I thought it was. So that was really well written, and I'm not going to say what, because obviously it's the second book. But yeah, we got like a T-Rex who is really old, and she's kind of struggling a bit, and it was her birthday, so there was like a birthday party. One of the babies that was born in the first volume was struggling with its family, and so she ended up adopting it for a couple of weeks to try and see if she could help him fit in, and she learned very quickly how destructive babies in general, but especially like baby dinosaurs, can be. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of reminded me when we had the kitten here for those few days, where she was just non-stop, and it was like some of the feelings she had, I was like, yeah, we kind of had those feelings, like, please just sleep. And the ending of that kind of reflected a little bit on the ending with us and Mochi making what was the best decision for the baby, and tiny bit emotional there. So still 4.5, still great. Just some of the emotional, like getting to know the characters a bit, was a little bit more lacking than was in the first one. So it means that I can go on to volume 3. Again, I've got to hope that I get a character that's going to fit, and we have Lieutenant Colonel John Shepherd, most anticipated or favourite author. I mean, I could be cheeky and swing it for most anticipated. I'm going to be really super cheeky. I'm just going to go get volume 3.
2 hours later.
To the shock of no one, I finished Dinosaur Sanctuary Volume 3, and I've given this one 5 stars. I wish this was a real place. I want to go. All of the zookeepers are so cool. The characters are amazing. The dinosaurs are just so cute and lovely, and just, ugh. But it's got an extra layer. It's got an actual map, as if it's a real thing. It's got a real information leaflet. And it's got a map of the area, and then on the back it's got like the park guide, and it's got like how much it is to enter. It's just, it's convincing me that this is a real place. It's got a little cafe. It just, that alone is above and beyond anything I've ever seen in any manga. And bear in mind, I've been reading manga for 20 plus years now, and just everything in here is so well written. The characters are all good. Even the vet, who I thought was a bit of a douchebag and still do, was so great, and he's really well written. Everyone is well written. All of just, the artwork is still incredible. The attention to detail, everything, it just...
Is it another 5-star? Yeah!
So I've got a funny feeling I'm going to end up binging the ones that Ren's got, which I think is all the ones that are out so far. It's going to be probably read by the end of tonight because this is 3 out of 5. But it all depends on our TBRGate cards, because obviously if I don't get the right person, I can't read the right book. So
Who did it last time?
John Shepherd.
Love John Shepherd. He's like the main character. Love him.
This time we've got Major Evan Lorne.
Love Lorne. He's the softest cinnamon roll.
Illustrated cover! So straight on to Dinosaur Sanctuary 4. TBRGate is treating me much better than Demon Trap.
So now we gotta get you to watch Stargate Atlantis.
No.
2 hours later.
Another one done. And another 4.5. It wasn't as good. We've got the first character that's been introduced that I don't like. There's probably going to be some story as to why, and we'll probably get told that at some point, because that is one thing that's really good about this. Every time I've thought about something, like a detail that might be missing or something that I wish I knew, it then does eventually come up. So the series is still fantastic for that. The park have realised Suzume's talent for just sort of knowing what the dinosaurs need, and she's also really good at picking up on the public and the visitors and what they need. So they've kind of made her the social media manager, and it's been really lovely seeing little bits in that and how she's trying to come up with ideas, and I think that's really fantastic and really true to life as well. And I'm still having such a great time with this. It just kind of had a slight lag a little bit in the pace in this one. I feel like it kind of held still a little bit, but we are moving forward again. So yeah, still 4.5, still amazing. The artwork's still fantastic, but it means that that's the 4th character for TBRGate done, which means I've got one final chance to try and get the 5th book. And I really hope that the gate cards continue to be nice to me today. Our next character is Colonel Stephen Caldwell. And we have male author or non-fiction. This has both. It has actual facts and it has a male author. So I get to read volume 5. Another day, another dino. This is volume 5. I read it last night, so I read all 5 of the currently released, because that's all that's available is 5 right now. So I read all 5 of Dinosaur Sanctuary yesterday, and it's a 4.5 to 5-star series across the board. Absolutely loving it. It's immediately going into one of my top favourites. I can't wait to talk more about it later on this month. By the time you see this video, that one will already be out, but I've decided this one is going to be one of my top manga of the year. So 4.5 again. This time we focused more on the vet, and we got a lot more of his backstory and why he is the way he is and stuff. And I thought it was really great to finally understand him a little bit better, because it turns out that he was very similar to Suzume when he first started out, and that's why he was so hard on her in the first volume and was like, if that's your attitude, you should leave. You're not fit to be a dino keeper. And so we start to understand why he's that way, and I have decided I really like him now. I still am not a big fan of one of the keepers, because he's better than a lot of people at remembering things, because he does things in a very fast way and a very precise way. He's very, very hard on Suzume just because she processes a bit differently to him. Kaido basically turns around to him and is just like, if all you're here for is efficiency and to just get the work done, clearly you're not. There's more to life than just that. You need to relax a little bit. And then he looks at some feedback forms and sees that Suzume, he'd had a go at her for being late and he hadn't let her explain why. And then he looks through some like visitor feedback forms and sees that there was one from a lady who says like she was born with weak legs and she struggles to walk around, and that one of the keepers not only told her where an exhibit was, she actually walked her to the exhibit and helped her. and like she left like really lovely feedback, and that's when he realized that that's the reason she was late, so he apologizes to her, and it was just really nice. Still don't like him much. I'm still a bit like I don't like that attitude, but it was a sweet moment and I will give him points for that. It was definitely very sweet. And they also had a careers day, so they had a group of young kids come in to see if maybe being a dino keeper is something they want. The only one in the group that's a girl. She's quite quiet and keeps to herself because her family are kind of like, oh, dinosaurs are for boys, why are you still interested? And so as a result, she knows loads about dinosaurs and she's really excited, but she's keeping herself to herself. And she ends up with one of the dino keepers who is also female, and she asks her, like, you know, is it silly to be into dinosaurs when you're a girl? And she's like, well, no, dinosaurs don't care whether you're a boy or a girl, they just care that you're looking after them. And I was like, yes. And by the end, she started to talk more with the boys, like they were arguing over what species is this dinosaur, and they were both getting it wrong. And she was like, it's one of these. And then it shows them back at school later on, and she's become part of that friend group, and I just thought it was so lovely. So yeah, another 4.5, which means another character needs to be drawn. Our next character, our next graphic novel or manga is going to contain Dr. Kate Heitmeyer. Beautiful cover or audio. I gotta go find a beautiful cover. That was easy. Self-made, volume 1. Change of plans, but sticking with the TBR, we're doing the T-Dragon Society because another one of the T-Dragon books needs to go back in 3 days. So, change of plans.
A few moments later.
5 stars. Not even like half an hour later. 5 stars. This is so freaking cute. I was saying to Ren, I was thinking like more like 4.5, and Ren was like, from the amount of squeals and ahs coming from you reading this, it can't be anything less than a 5 star, and I agree. The art is beautiful. The dragons are just the cutest thing ever. The story was great. I wanted a bit more, but then I was like, I feel like it actually, even though it was super quick, and even though we actually don't really get many pages at all, it says everything that needs to be said in that moment, and I felt it actually ended up being really good. I am glad that there are more books in the series, because obviously I want more. We've got a young girl called Greta who spots a little dragon about to be eaten by some starving dogs. She saves it, takes it back to its owner, and it turns out that this is a T-Dragon. So these are dragons that bond with people, and when they have bonded to their owner, they bond with them basically for that owner's life, because T-Dragons live for like up to 1,000 years, so they do have multiple owners. But the thing with the T-Dragons is like they grow special tea leaves out of their horns and antlers, which you can see like here. They've like, this is little chamomile, and you can see her little flowers. And basically once they've bonded to you, those flowers then contain the memories of you, like that they have with that partner. And so when the owner dies, out of mourning, they will shed all of those leaves. So it says that it's really, you have to carefully collect them. Like if you've collected those teas, you can then look back on those memories and find out, you know, and keep the memory of that dragon alive and that dragon's owner alive. And I thought that was so sweet. Greta comes from a family of blacksmiths, and at the start of the book, blacksmiths used to be really fundamental to society, and now they're kind of not, and it's becoming a bit of a lost art. Her mum is one of the best blacksmiths around, wants to teach her. She's like, I'm not really interested anymore because, you know, who even cares about blacksmiths anyway? But through meeting the T-Dragon Society, she starts to realise that just because something is no longer as in demand doesn't mean that it's any less special. And so she kind of goes on this journey of self-discovery of maybe she does want to continue and she doesn't want to let people forget, because, you know, blacksmithing, just as there are stories within the tea leaves of the dragon, there are stories within the objects that a blacksmith creates, and I love that idea of like keeping a tradition alive. And yeah, it was really sweet. All the characters were great in here. We've got queer rep, we've got BIPOC rep, we've got disability rep. There was a quote I really love that I think is going to go into my journal, which is, memories don't just live inside you, They live in all the people and objects you share your life with, and that was so pretty. I love it. That one, absolutely 5 stars. It also has a tea dragon handbook in the back, so it tells you all about the tea dragons, how to care for them. And then right at the very end, it's got like the individual ones. Now these 4 we meet in the book, but there are 4 more we don't meet in the book. And I haven't read this page because where there are other books, I'm hoping they'll come up. And one of the joys of reading this was figuring out what tea each of them are. But yeah, there are plenty more dragons to discover, and I'm hoping the next character I pull will allow me to discover the next one. So 5 stars and time to pull another card. So the next character we have is Dr. Elizabeth Weir, red on the cover or rant review pick. Okay.
Weir!
There was a stress because like obviously the third one, lots of red, and I was like, oh no, but the second one does have red all down the bottom here. Like various shades of red and orange. It counts. Hi, we're back to my phone because my camera ran out of battery and I can't be bothered to charge. No, it didn't. It ran out of storage and I can't be bothered to deal with it right this second. But if you hear noises in the background, it's because Ren is currently cleaning. Next one is finished, and that was the Tea Dragon Festival. I've marked off a couple because yet again it had a really cute quote. This time it was talking about gifts. The dragon was saying to the main character like that their gift is collecting ingredients and stuff, and they were like, no it's not, that's just easy. And they were like, just because something is easy doesn't make it any less of a gift. And I was like, oh, okay. Even though it had tea dragons in there, they sort of felt like side characters in this one. They didn't feel like they were as crucial as they were in the first book, and they kind of felt like almost like they were just ingredients, which yes, they provide tea and they make tea, but it just like we didn't even learn the names of the tea dragons for this one until right at the very end, and I kind of felt like it was still a very sweet book, but I wanted more from the tea dragons. And I also still really enjoyed the diversity wrap in here. There was a little moment between Rin and he has an interesting name. That's Aiden, something like that. Aiden. Rin was saying about, can dragons shift forms and can they shift between male and female? And Aiden was like, yes, they can shift to whatever feels most comfortable for them. And Rin kind of smiles because of their, like, where they're non-binary. So it was really cute. The one thing it wasn't made clear is that this is set decades before the first book. So then the third book is a year after the first book, so it feels like they're kind of out of sync. So I didn't realise that, and I would have read them in a different order if I did. But it's still very cute. I gave it 4 stars, but it did have slightly more of a lacking plot, and it did feel a lot less cute than the first one. But I did still have a really great time. I still love the art style, the characters were great, and it means that we have another character to draw. Who are we going to get this time? And we pull Chaya, Sir. Ooh, Indigenous author or romance. As graphic novel and manga is the thing. Unfortunately, I just asked Ren, they don't have any Indigenous graphic novels, so it's gonna have to be romance. And even though there is a romantic element in the Tea Dragon Society, I would not classify it as romance. A Sign of Affection, Volume 2. Which has Deaf Rep. Our main character Yuki is deaf, and then she meets, what's his name, Itsuomi, and in the first volume she meets him and they make a bit of a connection. In the second volume I think it's where he like starts to help her think about branching out and exploring the world more. So I'm looking forward to this one. So volume 2 of A Sign of Affection is going to be my next read. Sign of Affection Volume 2 is done. I read it so fast, like in not even 20 minutes. It was ridiculously quick. I was really having a lovely time with it. I'm really loving the bond that is growing between Itsuomi and Yuki. I like all of the side characters. I like how they haven't rushed into a relationship, but it's very clear that Itsuomi is treating her different to how he treats other people. And even his friend is like, I've never seen him be this like gentle before. So that was really sweet. Yuki is starting to question a little bit, like, well, why, like, is he actually interested, and if he is, why? Because in the first volume, it's been a while since I read it, but I do remember that in the first volume she was questioning, her feelings were maybe one-sided, but I think it's become a little bit clearer in the second volume that maybe there is not just a one-sided relationship thing going on. And it's just really sweet watching them bloom, watching them talk, watching them get to know each other, as well as her teaching him sign language and him teaching her about the world. I just think it's really cute and sweet and lovely. We now also have their ages. She is 19, he is 22. So it's like, you know, they're both adults, they're both college age. I still find it weird that as a 19-year-old, she has a curfew that her parents have set her. I get it because of, you know, they want to protect her, but at the same time, it's like, she is a grown adult. It means that that is Chaya done and another TBR character done. So it means that I now need to pull another character. Michael. So hybrid genre or animal on the cover. There's none on that one, none on that one. Oh. There is on Tea Dragon Tapestry. There is an animal because we have the tea dragons, like right here. So that's going to be our next read. Not only have I finished the Tea Dragon Tapestry, I've completed my manga graphic novel goal of the year. This is book 100. So that means that over the course of this year, excluding DNFs, I have read 100 manga or graphic novels. So that means that both of my big reading goals are now complete. That's 50 novels and 100 graphic novel and manga. That is the most I've ever read in any year. Whew, it's been a year, it's been a ride. I was hoping to have got this one done quicker than I did, but you know, I'm really happy with that. Let's talk about the fact that this is book 100. Let's actually talk about the book. I've given this one 4 stars. The art was still super cute. I like the characters and I love the world and the idea of the tea dragons. I just felt the plot was kind of lacking in this one. I understand it's for middle grade, so it is for like younger readers, but even for younger readers, I feel like there should have been a bit more substance. And I'm still having issues with the fact that this is a book called The Tea Dragon Society. I would have expected a little bit more about the actual tea dragons. And like in the first one at the back, they had a list of tea dragons that I didn't look at until I'd finished this one. And I was like, oh, there were 4 more dragons that even though we were told they existed, we were never actually shown them on paper. And I just felt like that was such a huge missed opportunity. I do hope that in the future there will be more stories from this universe, or even like just having little adventures with the tea dragons themselves. But I did still have some really cute, wholesome vibes off this. It still had some really sweet moments. So it's still got 4 stars, which means that this is another one of those series. I've done really well with the end of year series and the series, because like this is the 3rd series I've read since I've got here that I'm like, this is going to become in my top favorites for the year and be one that I'm going to refer to a lot. So that is that one. Yet again, we have another character. We have Wraith Warrior. Oh, disability or 500 plus pages. Yuki in Sign of Affection is deaf, so we're gonna go with this one. Another completo and another having to resort to my phone because I ran out of storage yet again on my camera. So, volume 3 of A Sign of Affection. I was starting to get to a point where I was like, is this gonna like go anywhere? Are these guys gonna actually have, you know, relationship stuff? And it was starting to feel a little bit too cutesy, and I was a bit worried that, because he mentions that he likes her because she seems a bit innocent, and I was like, is that because of her disability? Like, that's a bit infantilizing, which wasn't the best. But then they talked about it a little bit, and it is quite insta-lovey for both of them, which I don't normally like, but now that they've entered into the relationship and it's kind of like her first relationship, she's feeling a bit insecure because obviously he's got experience and he's very worldly and is a bit older, so he's obviously had more experience with relationships and stuff. So now that we've gotten into that, it's starting to pick up again, and I'm definitely interested. He's told her that if she gets a passport, he'll take her with him on his next adventure, so she's now decided that that's going to be her new goal, is to save up enough for a passport, which means getting a job. And then we obviously get introduced a little bit to the problems she has trying to find work. And then there's still also like her friend from school who is still showing signs of jealousy and has a couple of times sort of squared up to the boyfriend a bit and been like, why do you have this interest in her? Like, do you genuinely like her, or are you using her for some nefarious reason? But yeah, it was really good. And like I said, the first one was 5 stars, the second and third one have both been 4 stars. So again, on for a really solid series, and I definitely really want to check out the anime for this one because, you know, I wanted to read it before I watched the anime, but now I'm at the point I'm like, I probably won't read any more for a while, so I might just switch to the anime and watch that instead. But yeah, another one done, which means yet another character. Hi! Next character is... Did I say Todd?
Yeah!
Todd. Translated or closed eyes choice, but I'm gonna finish because this is one that I really want to get to. So I promise I am actually reading these and taking them in properly. I'm not just like skim reading them. But I finished, I Think Our Son Is Gay, Volume 5, and so that means this is a series that's finished, and it is absolutely a 4.5 5-star series. I haven't rated this one yet, but it's either going to be 4.5 or 5 stars. People's reactions didn't go how I thought they were going to go, but they went so much better. Like, the dad in this really stood out as a great character, when up until now I've been like, he's kind of a dick. And I completely changed my opinion of him. The ending, I was just saying to Ren, I was slightly disappointed it didn't go the way, like a certain way. It would have been nice to have had like a 10 years in the future epilogue, when instead we got like a few months, I think, in the future. But it still was really, really well done. And yeah, it just... As the mangaka himself has said, he wants people to read this and see being gay is okay, and that it doesn't have to be a big deal, and that as long as you love and support the person, then that's all that matters. And he was saying, like, you know, the perspective of this book was deliberately not from the son, it's the parents, and I think it's a really good one for parents to read. Even if you don't think your child is, it's still a good one to sort of, you know, learn different ways that you can support your child, even if they're not gay. I think everyone can learn something from this. So that finishes that series. That's going to definitely go on my best of the year pile that I will be filming this week. So yeah, that one is done. But it means that we now have another character to draw. I did just shuffle these like in between the last choosing and now. And we have... Dr. Daniel Jack, is that your favourite or something?
He's the reason I studied archaeology. Because I just wanted to be him.
Oh. I mean, you even kind of dress a bit alike.
I do.
Like, yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
This one could be a bit of a bugger for me. TBR vet or fave author? Okay, let's have a look.
Red lips.
Okay, I've got one potential. In the end, I went with a TBR vet. Originally, I thought My Hero team-up missions for favourite author, and then I realised that it's not one that's been written by Kohei Hirokoshi, kind of like Vigilantes. Oh, it has got his name on it, though. I need to look it up. This is going to be our next one. Did not like that card very much. I changed my mind. I'm going with favourite author, because I looked it up, and Hirokoshi oversees it, so even though he doesn't write it or draw it, he oversees it to make sure that there's no inaccuracies, and he will point out if he thinks something needs changing. So if he's involved, I'm going to read it. Last night I started my Hero Academia team-up missions, and then I finished it this morning. 4 stars for this one. I really loved all the team-ups. It had some of my favourites. I love Hawks. He's one of my favourite characters. Fat Gum is one of my absolute favourites, and also Bakugo was in a couple of these. He is just so chaotic. I find him hilarious, and I just love how, you know, when he takes down a villain, he's like, die! And then people are like, did he just say die? So it was funny, it was chaotic, it definitely felt like I was reading My Hero Academia, and it was just it was like coming back to an old friend. We had the return of some characters, and I really loved how Present Mike popped up being like, if you don't know who this is, watch this movie, and I loved all of that. So yeah, it was great getting to see the provisional heroes teaming up with pro heroes, and we didn't know who was going to get teamed up with who, and it was really fun to see how their powers work together. I just really did have a great time reading that. So 4 stars to this one, and then I'm going to pull for the next character, but I won't be reading anymore for a couple of days so I can focus on my journal video. But our next character is going to be Jeannie Miller. Disability or romance. I thought I'd already had this one, but I didn't. But for this one, it's time to get into the big chunker that is Orange Vault, the complete collection 2. I have high hopes for this one, and yeah, this one's probably gonna take a few days. So let's go and get started. I am being lazy with this one. I finished Orange, but I really don't have the energy right now to like give a full review because I've just basically full reviewed it for my best graphic novel and manga video. So seeing as this video comes out after that one, I'm gonna redirect you to watching my best manga and graphic novels of 2024 for the reasons why I love and recommend this as one of my best, but also why I think it's problematic in a couple of ways. So yeah, if you want my thoughts, please go check that one out, because like I said, I just don't have the brain capacity or the willpower right now to rehash something I only said like 5 minutes ago. But I really wanted to get to draw the next character and pick my next book. Who are we gonna pull today? Dr. Rodney McKay, most anticipated or fave author. I think I've now read pretty much all of the ones that I got from the library, almost all of them, but none of them fit that. So we're gonna go over to the shelves because I know that there's still at least 1 or 2 that Ren's got that I had down on my I want to read while I'm here list. I've read the first one twice and gave it 5 stars both times. I'm slightly worried that it's gonna go a similar way to other series that I've read where I really love the first one, but then there's not been enough plot to sustain it. But I do believe this one does have an actual plot line, fingers crossed, and I'm really excited to get to this one. So it comes under most anticipated to get to, but also possibly will end up being a favourite author, so double whammy. Excuse the lighting, all the shades are drawn, so I'm having to use the overhead light and it just looks weird. It's like 40 degrees today. It's pretty gross. A Man and His Cat Volume 2 is done. Another 5 stars because all the vibes, all the cutesy, all the wholesome. I didn't even make it to page 10 before I started tearing up. I just love this. And at the minute, it is still kind of more of a very short snippets into their life as they adapt to living together, and he's still adjusting to being a pet owner. But we do get a little bit more backstory on why he wasn't really big on animals and why it took so long to get a pet. We had a couple of more moments where we flash back to his wife, and again those were really emotional, but it's just such a wonderful story watching these two bonding. And I don't mind so much with this one because they are still in that bonding stage, and we are getting snippets of like we've met some of his co-workers, and there's like a hint there that, you know, there might be more interactions to come. So I'm still hopeful that the series is going to have more stuff. So yeah, 5 stars, just so cute. But it does mean I need to pick another book. So okay, I'm in the bathroom to pull this one. The next character is going to be Acastus Collier. Historical or non-fiction? I'm gonna go have a look. Keeping up with the I am on this so hard is Genderqueer. I finished it last night. While I'm reluctant to give star ratings to biographical things, I did remember on Corepile it has like the non-fiction bit, so it's like credibility and research, authenticity and uniqueness, so I went down that route and it came out as a 5 star. Realistically, how can you give it any less than 10 for authenticity when this is the author's own journey and story? You can't give it any less than 10 for that. I also gave it a 10 for writing because the way it was written was very well done. Everything was laid out great. All of the graphic design and the panels and things were fantastic. So I gave it a 10 for writing. And what else did it score very high on? Intrigue and like plot, which is personal impact, I scored it a 9, because I said to Ren last night that it's really interesting for me how when I was reading this, I had, even now and in the last few years, I have had so many of the same feelings and thoughts, yet where sort of Maya Kababe is non-binary and uses the Spavic pronouns of E, Ia, M. Did I get that right that time?
Yeah.
Yes. See? Learning all the time. But where E uses those pronouns and Ren is non-binary and uses they, them, I was like, it's really interesting how these two people have had very similar thought processes and revelations and feelings throughout life that I've had, yet the pair of them have gone down the non-binary route and the sort of gender fluid, gender queer route, whereas I'm just sort of like, I'm generically queer, but gender-wise, you know, I'm very happy being female, I'm very comfortable with being female, and I've never really felt like I am non-binary, even though I have a lot of non-binary thoughts, feelings, and almost traits. It really was fascinating to read, like, how someone so similar, like, there were things obviously that were different. Maya had like a different upbringing to me. E went through kind of slightly different thought processes where I've often been like, I wish I didn't have like a uterus, whatever, because of my periods and stuff. And I've had a lot of gender dysphoria regarding like my chest. So yeah, we've had the same thoughts, same feelings about those particular parts of our body, but it's a bit more for E. I will get there. I will practice. Again, it kind of had me thinking about my own stuff a bit more again. Like, certainly along the asexuality side of things, I was like, yeah, definitely does sit with me. But I did learn new things as well, such as the pronouns. It's a completely new set of pronouns to me. I've been vaguely aware of those pronouns. I will even admit, I remember the first time I heard of them, I did a little eye roll and was like, for God's sake, because you know, 5 years ago or so, I was still very ignorant. But the more I've been reading and the more I've been actually talking to the non-binary people around me, like, admittedly, right now it's just one.
Hi.
But my best friend during teacher training came out and was non-binary. He's since realised that he is in fact trans and goes by he, him. But when he originally came out to me and was like, I think I'm non-binary, we had that discussion and I started to read around it because I was like, okay, this is the first person I've been around who identifies as non-binary. I need to learn about this. And again, it was the same with these pronouns. I was vaguely aware of them. I kind of thought, oh, it's just another thing to stand out. And then I've realised, no, it's not. That's really ignorant thinking and really small-minded thinking, and is the reason why the world is not a nice place quite often. So yeah, reading around it a bit, learning more about it, and understanding the decision behind choosing those pronouns and things. It's educational. So again, it's one that, as I said with I Think Our Son Is Gay, whether or not you are queer or you are questioning your identity, this is a solid one to read to understand those that do. And unfortunately, the people who most desperately need to read these books are the ones that will be the last people on earth to read these books, which is a shame. But if you identify as an ally in any way, shape or form and you haven't read books like this, go check out the Reading Wren, and I'm sure they will give you plenty of books that you can read if you want to be an ally. I did give it 5 stars. I feel like it would have been pretty terrible to not give 5 stars when this is someone's own story. But even then, I say that, but there have been times I've read autobiographical stuff, but it's been written so the actual writing wasn't great, so it marked down for that. But I would never mark down for someone's own opinions and thoughts and feelings, because how can you? So yeah, 5 stars for this. But it does mean, yet again, no, I've just started shuffling the wrong pile of cards. Oh well. So yeah, that was Acastus. So he threw a spanner in the rent No, what? The spanner in.
Spanner at me?
No, I was gonna say. I was gonna say wrench. Like a spanner in a wrench.
But you missed out the ch, so it sounded like you threw a spanner at me.
I meant to say threw a spanner in the works, which is the actual saying. So he threw a bit of a spanner in the works, but it actually turned out for the best. It also prompted Ren and I to have a discussion about asexuality, and I've now got another book recommendation that I've got the audiobook of that I'll be reading at some point, God knows when. Anyway, our next character is Taylor Emagan.
Taylor Emagan.
Oh,
I
Emagan.
love Taylor.
I'm sure you've said that for every character.
I know. I'm aware.
Most anticipated or Indigenous author. To the shelves. I'm probably going to regret this one. But I've gone with Killing Stalking. I wrote a list of things that I wanted to read from Ren's shelves. So I was like, well, that counts as anticipating because I even preparedly wrote it down so I knew I wanted to read it, and this was on there. So Killing Stalking Volume 1. If you don't know, this was a webtoon on Lesin Comics, and Lesin is known for its more 18 plus dark, more mature stuff, and yeah, this one is a scrawny and quiet man has a crush on one of the most popular and handsome guys in his college, Sangu. After the two cross paths again, Yoonbum's feelings grow in intensity until they become an obsession, and he breaks into Sangu's home. What he sees inside is not the Sangu of his fantasies. His dreams of this alluring man abruptly turn into a nightmare. So it's like, you know, he breaks into the guy of his house that he's obsessed over, only it kind of backfires on him. I've heard things about this. As I just said to Ren, I'm probably going to get to the end of this and be like, what the did I just read? And then probably we'll want to read the second one, so let's go. What the... This is messed up. Not in a I'm really into this kind of messed up. It's definitely got the kind of the fuck with you vibes that I've been kind of wanting to read, but it had it a little bit too much. It started with one guy stalking the other and breaking into his house, and then ended up with him becoming the captive. That was pretty damn cool, but I don't know, I could not get over this one. I couldn't get into it. I felt like there was, certainly in this first volume, I don't really feel we get any reasoning or rationale behind why the other guy's the way that he is. We get a tiny glimpse, but not enough to really justify what he's doing, and I was just like, what is going on? The art was kind of fine. I think it was a bit messy in places and hard to really see what was going on, but I find that with the sort of the art style of a lot of webtoons kind of have that, things get a bit blurry. What did I give this? 3.5? I don't remember. I did give it a 4 stars because obviously very atmospheric, and I was intrigued and I did read it very quickly, so, and I didn't want to stop reading through to the point that I got to. So, you know, it did get 4 stars, but it's also extraordinarily messed up, and it is kind of fits more that slasher kind of fic that I don't enjoy. It was meant to be more like a psycho thriller, and I felt it went less thriller, more psycho, and I just didn't really get on with that style. When I compare it to, say, like Brutal, I think I prefer the story and what I've read so far in Brutal compared to this. And I also found it just really hard to sympathise with the main character, because at the end of the day, he's pathetic, and he also started out as a stalker, so it's like, do I really feel bad for this guy? No, I don't. So even though I gave it 4 stars, I absolutely am not continuing this story. I found a spoiler review that sort of went in depth into what happens. I read what happens at the end and I was just like, what? So yeah, I am not interested in continuing this. But yeah, I also pulled for my next book while, again, because I didn't review this, I didn't pull on camera. So the next book that I chose for the next pick is Wraith Queen, which is translated or audio, which basically meant I had complete free reign. And the book that I have chosen to read next is Mr. Villain's Day Off. So we shall see how this one goes. I finished another one. We have Mr. Villain's Day Off Volume 1, which was, it's been a few days since I drew this card, so I can't even remember who it was. Was it Wraith Queen, I think, was this one. This follows I'm pretty sure he's an alien, like from another planet, who's come to Earth, and he's basically like in this league of evil guys, and he's like the general. And it shows that when he's on and in general mode, he's like really evil and scary, and his job is going to eventually be to destroy humanity and destroy the world to then rebuild it to how they want. Only when he has his off days, all he really is interested in is good food and pandas. He is obsessed with panda bears. He's like, what are these creatures? And then just gradually just loves them, and then just we get to see him on various days off. It's not got like a set plot, at least right now it hasn't. It's more when it's his day off, it follows what he gets up to. We've got a hero in it, this Guardian here. I kind of had a hope that maybe this would end up being a bit queer, but as of yet it's not. But the way these two interact, I'm like, could it end up going that way? We shall see. But yeah, you've got Mr. Villain, who it turns out when it's his day off, he's not quite as villainous as one would expect. And there were a few moments in here where I was like, it felt repetitive. It very much did. Every single chapter started with the same kind of wording of him saying, oh, I'm a super villain from this, doing this. And it was like, okay, we get it. Do we need to be told this every 4 or 5 pages? So some bits were quite repetitive and got a little bit draggy. But there were some really humorous moments in here, and there were some really wholesome, cute moments too. Like there was one bit where him and this kid were watching the panda for ages to see its tail. And when it finally did turn around, they both commented at the same time. They just did like a little fist bump, and I was like, so cute, I love it. And then he meets that kid later on in the book, and the kid says he wants to be a vet when he grows up. And so he was like, so doctor, tell me about how to stroke a bunny rabbit, because I've never done it before. And then at the end, he was like thinking about, oh, when this kid becomes a vet, and he's like, wait, no, I'm supposed to be destroying humanity before then. And it's kind of like a tiny little flicker of, do I actually want to do that? So I'm hoping that maybe in future volumes there might be a little bit more plot coming into it with him and his conflicted feelings. But I did have a great time with this. This one is a 4-star. And our next character pull is going to be, do you want to know the new character? Dr. Lindsay Novak.
Oh, what a sweet little bean.
Ebook or disability. Okay. Yes, I'm going to be having a think. I'll be back in a minute with my choice. That took far longer than I'm comfortable with, which means like I need to look out for more disability manga. But we have one that eventually I was like, oh, there is a disability in the title, which is Cheerful Amnesia by Tamamushi Oku. When Arisa loses her memories from the past 3 years, her girlfriend Mari worries it might mean the end of their building relationship. A needless concern, it turns out, because when Arisa lays eyes on her, she falls in love all over again. So it's basically their relationship starting from scratch, and they get to relive all of their firsts for a second time. So it could be cute, it could be wholesome. So let's get on and do this one, but first I need to go eat my dinner because I think it's about to be ready. So I'm gonna go eat some dinner and then come back and I'll talk to you in a bit. What's gonna break first, my sanity or my battery? Well, die first, my brain or my battery. I only actually fully read 2 pages of this, but I've DNF'd and I'm not gonna finish it. It immediately goes in with saying, oh, my girlfriend suddenly lost her memories. No explanation as to why, nothing, no build up, no anything, just she's lost her memories. And then she just wakes up and is immediately just like, oh my God, who are you? And I was just like, no, I'm not dealing with this. I've done a quick flick through and I'm just like, I know if I read this, it's gonna be a 2-star or even less. So I'm not even gonna put myself through it. Historically, I've never really enjoyed Yuri manga. And I think that trend's just gonna continue. It's not the doctor's fault. She's not the one to blame. It's whoever wrote this. It does mean we have another book. We have this time round Colonel Sam Carter.
Hey.
TBR vet or gifted? I'm gonna go have a look and I'll come back. I went with kaiju number 8. Ren said that they gave this one 5 stars. So I was like, cool. But it's like with the highest kaiju, which are like monsters. It's like these monsters. With the highest kaiju emergence rates in the world, Japan is no stranger to attack by deadly monsters. Enter the Japan Defense Force, a military organization tasked with the neutralization of kaiju. Kafka Hibino, a kaiju corpse cleanup man, has always dreamed of joining the force, but when he gets another shot at achieving his childhood dream, he undergoes an unexpected transformation. How can he fight kaiju now that he's become one himself? I'm not reading all of it, but that's like the basic premise. That sounds like one I'm gonna really enjoy. This is, yeah. So, you know, I like books like, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen, Blue Exorcist, where, you know, the guy becomes the evil thing and then ends up joining the good guys to fight the evil things that he has become. Kind of like, blah, 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 blah. Ooh, come on. Tokyo Ghoul. There we go. I knew I was going to get there eventually. But Tokyo Ghoul, it's kind of giving me those kind of vibes, so let's see if I'll enjoy it. 5 stars. So chaotic, so funny. I at one point had tears in my eyes. I was laughing so hard. In case you haven't read it yet, I'm not going to say what it was, but for those that have read it, if I just say P, I think that kind of tells you without giving away to anybody else. It was just so funny. So I've got these kaiju, which if you don't know, kaiju is just basically, it's a Japanese term for these like monsters. They have been popping up all over Japan, and there's now like a special defense force that take them down. Our main character has always wanted to join, but where his childhood friend got in and she's now like the poster girl for it, he ended up failing to get in and is now on cleanup duty. But his, like, the people around him have commented, and like his bosses, their inner monologues are like, he would have been such a great officer if he'd have made it in, if he'd only like tried harder or like done a little bit more for it. And then after cleaning up this one particular kaiju, it has like this tiny little flying worm thing that comes out of it and tracks him down, and when he's recovering in the hospital after being attacked, it goes into him and turns him into a kaiju. And now he's decided he's still going to go for it. He's still going to try one final time to get onto the force, but he's now trying to hide the fact that he is a kaiju. When we first meet him, there's a new guy that joins who's just like 18, and he also wants to join the squad, and the reason he chose to join the cleanup force before applying for the job is because during the recruitment process the last couple of years they've done sort of cleanup as part of that process, so he thought it would help him get a head start, only it doesn't go that way and chaos ensues. That's all I'm gonna say. But oh my god, him finding out he's a kaiju, the first sort of experiences as it's just so funny. He's so open and reveals everything and is just so like loud, and then the new guy that ends up teaming up with him is so sort of like sardonic and sarcastic and just does not care and doesn't want to give a shit, and it's just so funny. I cannot wait to continue this, and I think it's got a really good cast of characters that have been introduced so far. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing this, and hopefully our next character card will allow me to continue it straight away. I'm gonna pull my next character card because
I thought you were just like talking to me.
The way you were reacting, I was like, yeah, they think that I'm talking to them. Oops. We have Dr. Carson Beckett.
I love Carson with my whole heart and soul. I love him.
Well, do you know what? I don't.
What are his prompts?
Wholesome or set in the UK, neither of which apply to kaiju number 8.
No. But I do have wholesome stuff.
I know what I'm picking. Oh, sorry, the lighting is awful. Garlic and the Vampire. It's kind of fitting for this book though, like the cover. But Garlic and the Vampire, no idea what it's about.
It's about literal garlic and a vampire.
I'm too hot and tired for this shit. I'm gonna go and read this and I'll be back. Definitely not tonight, but at some point I will be back with an update. Garlic and the Vampire is complete and is the next book that I've read, and I've given this 4 stars. It's very cute and very sweet. I especially loved Garlic and how she overcomes her fears. I love the illustrations and the colour palette and the drawing and art style in this. I just found the plot was a little bit... nothing much really happened. It was sweet, it was cute, but it didn't have a lot of like story. And certainly when Garlic faces the vampire, the kind of interactions that they had I felt were very almost childish in a way. So yeah, I definitely love the art. I love the little characters in this, and I've given it really high ratings for those. And I love the idea where this witch has managed to cause the vegetables and stuff to actually become like little humanoids of their own, and they've all got their own personalities and stuff, and that was super cute. But like I said, I just found the plot wasn't my favourite, so that's why this one got a 4 instead of, say, a 5. And then off camera, I didn't have the energy to film earlier because I had a really bad night last night. I pulled off camera. I had this guy, General Jack O'Neill, and it was TBR vet or male author. Thankfully, Kaiju number 8 is a male author. So I got volume 2. And this one was another 4 stars. The first volume was 5 stars. It was chaotic, it was hilarious. I really loved all of the characters and how it set everything up. The second one wasn't quite as good as the first one. It was still really good and I still had a great time. There were some laugh out loud moments. I'm liking how we've got this character here, and there was like one of the other new recruits who had been kind of like rivals, but then by the end of this volume they're starting to bond a bit, and I did like that. I'm liking there's an officer in this that's taken what's his name again? Kafka under his wing, only he's like, yeah, you're not gonna make it, and Kafka's like, I'm gonna show you, bitch. But then during the main fight in this volume, he ended up being quite crucial because he spotted things that no one else did due to his background and how long he'd worked in like the cleanup. He was like, hey, I recognize these things, and they were all like, hey, thanks man, that helped. So they're realizing that even though he may not be the best in terms of combat, he is really good for helping logistically, and so it's like showing that there's more than one type of fighter. So yeah, this one got 4 stars. It wasn't as funny and it didn't feel as fast-paced as the first one, but I think now we're starting to get into the meat of the story a bit more. That does mean, yet again, we have another card. The next character we have is Dr. Radek Zelenka, translated or glasses on the cover. That is fantastic because that means volume 3. Let's go do a bit more reading. Okay, Garlic and Vampire ended up being my final book of 2025, like my final graphic novel. I still have Kaiju number 8 to read. Unfortunately, I didn't get to it in December, and I don't yet know what I'm gonna be reading for January, because obviously in January I'm gonna be reading the episode card, like pulling from the episode prompts, which means as well as reading, I'll be watching the show with Ren. We're gonna just see how that all goes, but I would like to try and get that onto my TBR. If you have watched this entire video, thank you so much, because I'm aware it's gonna be a very long video. So if you are watching it and it is over an hour, thank you so much. Let me know in the comments if you have any manga or graphic novel that you read in December, and if not, what books did you enjoy reading through December? Thank you all so much for tuning in to this video. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you had a fantastic new year and are feeling good about 2025. Don't forget to check out my Etsy and Patreon that are both linked below, and I will see you on the next one.